Say what I think, regardless of the consequences. This was clearly a fixed game. Everyone saw it. If FIFA want Argentina to win, then why do you make us come play? I'm gonna say what I think, regardless of the consequences. This was clearly a fixed game. Everyone saw it. If FIFA want Argentina to win, then why do you make us come play? I'm gonna say...
The Miracle or the Machine. On July 7th, 2026, Enzo Fernandez's dramatic 93rd minute winner completed Argentina's stunning comeback, leaving millions of fans around the world in disbelief. It looked like the perfect example of mental strength under pressure. It felt like football at its most thrilling and unpredictable, the kind of story that only the World Cup can produce. But less than 24 hours later, as celebrations faded in Georgia, a very different storm began to build across Europe. On the morning of July 8th, Argentina's dramatic escape was followed by an unprecedented political response. 50 members of the European Parliament from 13 different countries publicly demanded an immediate investigation into FIFA President Gianni Infantino. They didn't see Atlanta as a miracle. They believed it exposed a much deeper problem inside world football. For the first time during an active World Cup, the man leading FIFA found himself facing formal accusations involving alleged political influence, systemic bias, and corporate interests. The story was no longer just about football. It had become a fight over credibility of the 2026 World Cup, with pressure mounting rapidly around Gianni Infantino. To understand why politicians stepped into the middle of the tournament, we need to look at what happened on the field in Atlanta. Egypt entered the round of 16 as clear outsiders, expected by many to be comfortably beaten by Lionel Scaloni's talented Argentina. Yet, only 15 minutes into the match, everything changed. Yasser Ibrahim rose above the Argentine defense completely unmarked and powered a header into the net. Argentina suddenly looked nervous, missing the confidence and control that had carried them to the World Cup title 4 years earlier. The drama increased even further when Argentina received a first-half penalty. It seemed like the perfect chance for Lionel Messi to equalize, but goalkeeper Mostafa Shobir guessed correctly and produced an outstanding save. It was Messi's second missed penalty of the tournament, leaving the stadium stunned into silence. When Mostafa Zico scored Egypt's second goal in the 67th minute, one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history looked almost certain. Fans across Africa were preparing to celebrate a famous victory. Then everything changed again. Argentina launched wave after wave of attacks during the final 15 minutes, but the comeback was surrounded by several controversial refereeing decisions. The clock appeared to keep running forever. Repeated VAR reviews interrupted Egypt's defensive rhythm, while a lengthy period of added time created exactly the opportunity Argentina needed. By the time Enzo Fernandez scored the winning goal, Egypt's players looked physically drained and emotionally crushed. During the chaotic closing moments, the referee showed 5 yellow cards to Egyptian players during stoppage time alone, including goalkeeper Mostafa Shobir, midfielder Hamdi Faidi, and Marwan Attia, as they angrily protested what they believed was an unfairly managed match. Argentina advanced to face Switzerland in the quarterfinals, but many football fans around the world were left asking the same question. Had they witnessed one of the greatest comebacks ever, or had football's governing system quietly stepped in to protect one of its biggest commercial attractions? The European response. The events in Atlanta became the spark that ignited concerns which had reportedly been building behind the scenes for months. On July 8, 2026, the European Parliament moved from watching events unfold to taking direct action. 50 lawmakers sent an urgent official letter to the football associations of all 27 European Union member states. Their goal was simple: build a united European position that would place maximum pressure on FIFA in Zurich. The lawmakers specifically called on FIFA's Ethics Committee to remove Infantino's administrative protection and immediately investigate his leadership. This was not simply an emotional reaction from disappointed supporters. It was a carefully planned political move based on FIFA's own regulations. The lawmakers argued that Infantino's administration had repeatedly failed to follow the organization's own ethical standards. FIFA's code requires its president and executive officials to remain politically neutral, commercially transparent, and fully committed to sporting integrity. European lawmakers, supported by human rights organizations and the growing Reboot FIFA campaign, claimed those principles had steadily been weakened under the current leadership. Relations between European football and FIFA have been tense for years, But this letter represented a major escalation. Not since 2015, when the European Parliament demanded Sepp Blatter's resignation during the FIFA corruption scandal, had such broad political opposition been directed at a sitting FIFA president. At the center of the complaint is a serious accusation that international football has shifted away from sporting merit and toward an entertainment business, where commercial priorities outweigh fair competition. The Trump and Balogun controversies. To understand these allegations, many critics point back to the official World Cup draw in Washington, D.C. during late 2025. At the Kennedy Center, Gianni Infantino announced FIFA's first-ever Peace Prize without following the normal consultation process within the FIFA Council. The inaugural award was presented to United States President Donald Trump. Images of Infantino handing the trophy to the leader of one of the World Cup host nations, while officials from Mexico and Canada looked on, immediately attracted criticism. Human rights group Fair Square filed an ethics complaint, arguing the decision violated Article 15 of FIFA's Code of Ethics, which prohibits officials from using their positions to support political figures or agendas. At the time, Norway's Football Federation, led by Lise Klaveness, was the only national association to publicly support the complaint. Now, those same arguments have been repeated almost word for word in the European Parliament's latest letter, which asks FIFA's Ethics Committee to determine whether the award represented an abuse of presidential authority designed to strengthen political relationships inside the United States. The controversy goes beyond public relations. During the current tournament, European lawmakers highlighted reports claiming Donald Trump personally contacted Gianni Infantino to request a review of the automatic one-match suspension given to United States striker Folarin Balogun after his red card. The idea that a sitting head of state could attempt to influence disciplinary decisions during a World Cup is highly unusual. Reports that FIFA considered those discussions have led lawmakers to accuse Infantino of allowing outside political pressure to interfere with the competition's disciplinary process. Corporate influence and growing divisions. The investigation demands are not limited to politics alone. Lawmakers are also questioning FIFA's increasingly close relationship with major state-backed corporations under Infantino's leadership. Particular attention has been placed on multi-billion-dollar sponsorship agreements involving companies such as Saudi Aramco, one of the richest commercial partnerships in global sport. European officials argue that relying so heavily on state-backed sponsors weakens FIFA's repeated promises about human rights, transparency, and independent governance. Looking at the wider timeline, investigators believe several events deserve closer examination. The enormous financial investment from state-backed partners, the uncontested awarding of the 2034 World Cup, the political developments in Washington, and the refereeing controversies surrounding major teams like Argentina have all contributed to growing suspicion among critics. The European Parliament argues these political and commercial interests may now be influencing football itself. The international reaction has already begun dividing the football world. In Egypt and across Africa, frustration has reached new levels. The Egyptian Football Association has reportedly held emergency discussions while carefully considering the legal consequences of making any formal corruption allegations. Across much of the continent, many supporters feel African nations are consistently placed at a disadvantage. A growing belief suggests that tournament structures and refereeing decisions favor the biggest global stars, helping extend television audiences, sponsorship value, and commercial income for FIFA. Meanwhile, FIFA headquarters in Zurich has remained unusually quiet. Gianni Infantino, normally known for confidently defending his leadership, has stayed almost completely out of public view since the European Parliament released its letter. In the past, FIFA has often responded to government involvement by threatening to suspend national football associations for political interference. However, applying that strategy against Europe's biggest football nations will create consequences FIFA could hardly afford. The situation has left many major football associations facing an extremely difficult decision. If powerful European federations formally support Norway and the European Parliament, the sport could face an internal conflict that overshadows everything happening on the pitch for the rest of the World Cup, a crisis of confidence. At the same time, this tournament has produced some of the most exciting football ever seen on the World Cup stage. Argentina's dramatic victory over Egypt delivered unforgettable emotion, incredible determination, heartbreaking disappointment, and one of the tournament's most memorable finishes. Yet many supporters are now asking an uncomfortable question. Can those magical moments still be enjoyed in the same way if the governing body behind the competition is facing one of the biggest political challenges in its history? For many fans, complete confidence in the fairness of the tournament has been shaken, leaving the world's biggest football event under a cloud of doubt. Still, the true strength of football has never belonged only to FIFA executives in Zurich or politicians in Brussels. It belongs to the millions of supporters who watch every match, wear their team's colors, and fill stadiums around the world. Does this unprecedented political intervention change the way you view the dramatic matches we've witnessed during the 2026 World Cup? Or do you believe these accusations are simply political pressure aimed at a hugely successful tournament? Share your opinion in the comments below. Let's have a thoughtful discussion about where the line between politics and football should really be. Thanks for joining this Football Dispatch Breakdown, and we'll see you in the next one.